Welcome back, everyone. Draskyl here. Another replay analysis. Today, we're going to be going over a legend rank Jakiro. The purpose of this replay is going to be, we're going to go over like the early game, stuff you can do in the lane to help even if the lane is not necessarily ideal, moves that you can make, where to ward, how to ward, and basically just stuff that a lot of people are stingy about that's going to make you either win or lose a game. So we're not gonna do too much of a preamble here. We're just gonna get right into it. We're gonna be laning against a bat and a bounty hunter. These two heroes are like, bounty is not really a good laner.
30 seconds.
So I already have one hero that I'm not too worried about. The big thing here is that I have a sentry. Now I want to place a sentry in the lane. There will be points where we're gonna see him put a sentry on this bounty rune right here because I did like a once through on this replay. Now, we want to talk about this sentry because it seems like a good idea, right? At glance value to put the sentry down because, hey, the bounty hunter is going to walk up here with invis. We're just going to kill him. That's like that's our play, right? Now, if I had another hero that had the kill potential at level 1, I would say that this is probably okay, right? And this ward is like very, very close to also blocking the pull. So this ward placement is assuming that we're going to be able to secure the bounty and kill this guy at the same time. If both of those things happen, that's great. Then it's worth it. But what I'm going to tell you is that since we're landing with a Morphling, the chances of killing this bounty hunter are very small. So our return investment on the sentry placement is basically just one bounty rune that we could probably get anyway. So this sentry placement ends up being a little bit of a waste, which is okay. Still lots of Dota to be played here. But if you really want to try to threaten a level 1 kill, what you really want against a bounty hunter is the dust. That's what you want. So we get the bounty anyway. This guy's gonna walk away. Now, if we had the money for a dust instead of a sentry, that guy would probably just be dead. And then the dust investment would have been huge, because we would, obviously get the first blood gold on either us or the Morphling player, and then, we can spend a little bit of extra money. But now the second part of the equation comes into play, where I have placed a sentry in my camp, maybe under the assumption that it's warded, maybe under the assumption that the bounty hunter is going to come up there, but now we don't have it for the lane. So why is it a problem that we don't have the ward for the lane? Well, bounty hunter's his best attributes in the early game is the fact that he has like 7 armor. Okay, so he's very, very high armor. If he gets in melee range, he's in the ideal situation for him to trade because he wants to like hit you with his Shadow Walk. You can actually get like double Shadow Walk hits if you're familiar on the hero, but he's obviously not here right now, so it's okay. But you want to have a sentry down for your safe laner, and you want to make sure that the Morphling is safe and the bounty can't just easily close the gap on you. The other thing that we're going to note here is that we are against a Bat Rider, so a stick is going to be more or less mandatory. We could be helping with the double denies here. Nice, we do get 1. And more than anything else, we want to try to control the lane as much as possible. We don't want the Bat to get level 2 and 3, so every single deny that we get is huge. And between our two heroes, we've denied half the first wave, so that's nice. But if we're not going to be like harassing, like at this point, we're playing conservatively because we're unsure of where the bounty hunter is. Now, a sentry would fix this problem. This is actually another ripple effect that you could just take away from the fact that we sentried that bounty rune at level 1. If we have our sentry here, we know if the bounty hunter is there or not. So maybe the Jakiro is thinking to himself, I don't really want to trade because I don't know if the bounty hunter is here or not. But if you know for 100% fact that he is alone, you play this lane completely different. You walk into him, you dual breath, you push him off the wave, and you completely zone this guy out. And all those things can't happen if you don't have the sentry down, because you don't have enough information to work with. Like right now, the bounty hunter is sniping a courier, or trying to, but you can't know that because you don't have the vision. So because you don't know, you can't make the optimal play. Now, if it were me, I would probably try to zone him anyway, even if I didn't have a sentry, because I'm going to get that information by harassing. If the bounty hunter's here, he's going to hit me, right? But if he's not here, this guy's just going to run. So what we can actually do, even without the use of a sentry, is make what I would call like a posturing play, and I would just start walking at him. If he runs away, good chance he's alone. If he doesn't run away and he starts stacking me with sticky napalm, good chance that there's another guy here and I might die. But you can actually get that information just simply by walking at him. Most players are not smart enough to go for like a bait play, and like this Bat Rider being alone is actually being able to stand in EXP range when he should not be allowed to be here. So our courier gets sniped. We're still going for the double deny stuff, and so far we're at 4 denies, so we've denied still about half the creeps, because 4 creeps per wave, and this will be the 3rd wave that's hitting right now. So it's not completely awful, but we have pretty much given the Bat Rider a free level 2. And now he's stacking us with a sticky, and this feels very uncomfortable, and we don't want to be here. Okay, so if the Bat Rider actually had Firefly right there, there's a good chance we just die. So it's actually very fortunate that for whatever reason that guy skilled Flame Break at level 2 instead of the correct skill, because it would have definitely been us just falling over. Now with our first 270 gold, we have a couple of choices. The first that I would probably go for, even though I'm laning against a Bat Rider, I would probably still buy a Sentry. And the reason I want the Sentry is for all the stuff that we've already talked about. As a support, more specifically at position 5, your #1 priority above all else, even your own life, is making sure that your safe laner has an okay time. And if your safe laner is trading EXP with a Bat Rider, I can assure you that he is not having an okay time. And the fact that the detection is not down already, I mean, obviously we can't now because the courier's dead. We can't obviously send it to ourselves anymore. So we're going to have to go with the stick and just be like, okay, this is what I can do. It's probably not worth it to go for a trip back to the base just yet. Being here is probably still more impactful than going back and leaving my Morphling alone, so probably going to have to wait for the courier to respawn. It'll be about 30 seconds. Let's go back a little bit. And what we're going to do is we're going to try to... Let's talk a little bit about the lane equilibrium, because I see a lot of people have this problem. Actually, one of the people of the channel specifically asked me to know when you know how to pull. So the first thing that you're going to notice in this situation, and it should already be obvious by now to an experienced support player that this lane needs to be pulled, just because of the fact that we have twice as many melee creeps as the enemy team. As soon as you see this situation, the Bat Rider is low on health, this creep wave is almost full HP, they have 2 melee and 1 range, we have 4 melee, 1 range. This is the point where you say, I need to pull. And the reason it's good to leave now is because you can actually stack the small camp and then pull, and you'll actually have time to do it right now because it's 2:37. If you were going to go for a pull, you'd have to be there in 8 seconds. It's going to be close. You probably won't make it. But you will be able to make a pull, or make a stack, excuse me. And then you can pull at, 3:15. That would be your next pull time. And then you would deny not this wave, but the entire next wave that spawns. That's good. By waiting here, you're delaying the pull. You're also making it so that if you want to do the pull, you're going to have to go for a pull through, which for a Bat Rider Bounty Hunter lane, which we've already established that we have no detection for, no dust, no sentries, nothing, they're going to be able to contest this easier than they'll be able to contest this because it's closer to our tower. Plus, it makes us safer. If we're standing out here in no man's land, Bat Rider stacks us a few times, Bounty Hunter's nearby invis with maybe like a shuriken toss, we probably just die. So we want to be over here. We want the stack, we want the pull. Our Morphling's pretty strong, and this Bounty Hunter doesn't really seem too keen to what's happening here, but we're trying to get whatever damage we can. And harassing for the sake of harassing is okay. Having a health advantage in lane is always going to feel nice. You're going to be able to pressure and stuff. But we could have had the small camp stacked. We could have been pulling right now. I just want to make note of how long it takes us to realize that we should have pulled the lane. Because this wave that's popping up, not this wave, but the one right now, this wave should all be dead. So let's say 300 gold, couple hundred EXP that we could have just completely denied, and we're actually going to miss this wave. So that's just gold and experience that we gave to the enemy off lane that we could have prevented. We probably could not prevent the triple wave with the 3 range creeps, but we could prevent them from getting the one after that. And by pulling, we're also making it so that the lane is now back at our tower instead of the Morphling still having to be in a dangerous position. Now, does he die? I don't know. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But again, your purpose as a safe laner is you are basically the guy who is, as a safe lane support, you're making your safe laner, you know, have a good time. That's all you care about. If your Morphling is happy, then you're happy.
Dire's middle tower.
Alright, so our courier is respawned. This camp is... I think it got pulled out by the Morphling. Yeah, okay, so that nothing major is happening here. We're going for a pull-through. We're actually going to miss our timing a little bit, which is unfortunate. So this is something that will just come with experience. You'll get better at making these pull-throughs, and you'll be able to deny that wave a little bit better. But because we failed the pull-through and we didn't stack the camp, guess what happens? And this is what we call another ripple in our gameplay. So this range creep should be dead. This range creep should not be here. Our Morphling denied the other melee, so he actually prevented them from getting that EXP. But you gave him a free range creep because of a mechanical mistake. So again, more EXP and more potential gold that you're giving away to the enemy. Now it's 4 minutes and 43 seconds in. So let's rewind again and see, like, where were we? Alright, so it's about 4:30. This is the stage where if I don't have boots, I'm already thinking about, you know, can I go to the bounty runes? As a general rule of thumb, when you are playing a support, the bounty runes are worth more than your life. They are just worth more than you. You pick up a bounty rune at 5 minutes, it's 200 net worth for the team. 50 gold per person. Sorry, 250. But that gold is more valuable to your team as a whole than it is for you to even die for it. So if you want to go for a bounty rune, you got to go now. You got to look at the clock and say, oh, it's 4:30. I want to walk over there. I want to get that rune. And instead we're going to try to go for like this zoning the Bat Rider play. And I would say that our time spent here right now is not really like super useful. I think it's pretty tough for the Bat Rider to kill the Morphling. In order to do so, he would have to tower dive. So let's take a second and talk about what could we be doing right now? And furthermore, does our Morphling actually need us in lane? So if we look at the Morphling, he's got stick, he's got boots, he's got a mango, a healing salve, some regen. This guy's, you know, he's looking all right. Even if I leave him alone, I can make the distinction that he probably does not need my help right this second. The Bounty Hunter is gone. The Bat Rider is alone in lane. My Morphling has waveform, so I know that he can escape. I need to put a little bit of faith in my core player that he's going to make the right choice and not just die. Now, if this was some other hero besides Morphling that did not have a way to escape, maybe I make a different choice and stick around and help him against the Bat. But again, bounty runes very important. We're not in position to get them. Our Morphling is more than okay in this lane. I think it's very hard for Bat Rider to kill the Morph in this situation, even in a 1v1. So because of that, my choice, personally, would be I want to be at like their bounty rune when it spawns. I don't want to be there a second later or 2 seconds later. I want to be there the second it spawns, and then I want to immediately run back to where mine is. And the main reason I want to be at theirs first is because it's much easier for them to get to that one than it is for me to get to my own, for obvious reasons. You can TP to the tower from the offlane, for example, and walk like 8 seconds and be at the bounty rune as Radiant. But for me to get there, it has to be a bit more premeditated. So we get at the rune at, you know, 5:19, so we were 19 seconds late. 19 seconds is all the time in the world. That rune could have been gone. That rune could have just not been there. And of course, theirs is already taken because we delayed it. Delayed our movement by quite a bit. So we can assume that the Bat Rider might have gotten it or the Bounty Hunter might have gotten it. In this case, it was the Bat. So we actually saw this guy leave lane and go to the Bounty Rune. And because he left lane to go for his own bounty, guess what? He's not contesting my Morphling, which plays back into what I said earlier. Your Morphling did not need your help. Your Morphling was completely fine. Alright, looks like the Bat Rider's trying to commit here. We got 10 sick charges. This guy makes a really bad mistake, and he ends up dying. Okay, cool. So I'm missing some HP. I'm going to buy out a bunch of stuff. This is actually, we might just die here. Okay, yeah. We didn't stay under the tower. Bounty Hunter's trying to go on us. Does this guy kill us? He actually does not kill us. But we don't have detection. Maybe he chases us down anyway. We'll have to watch to find out, and yeah, we're dead.
Dire's
So does he
middle
die
tower
though?
has
All right, he
fallen.
does. So we go 1 for 1. Let's go back.
Dire's middle
I want to watch this from the very beginning. Let's see if there's something else that we could do. Okay, so let's look at the situation. Try to be objective about our choices. So, our first choice is that we TP to base because we have no HP. We don't want to wait for the healing salve to be ferried out. We're impatient. We spent all our money. TPing to base right now would be okay. Actually, TPing right now would actually be fine. The other thing that would be fine is maybe selling the sentry, buying a healing salve, sitting under your tower, bring out all your stuff, use your healing salve, then go back to laning. That would be like the maximum efficiency. Like going to base right now is okay in the sense that you don't really want to hog the courier as a support. So I would say TPing is fine. The other thing is like maybe don't buy as much stuff, buy some regen, and then bring that regen to my hero so that I don't have to go back to base, which is like the top tier efficiency. I don't care about the courier use. I'm just going to be greedy about it kind of play, which is also okay. The worst play that we can make is putting ourselves in a situation where we can die. So we're going to go for a pull. And by the way, the lane is completely empty. There's actually no reason for us to even be pulling right now because we're not denying experience from anyone. We just killed the Bat Rider. He's still dead for 7 seconds. So even under the circumstances that the Bounty Hunter isn't there, this pull still doesn't really do anything for us. We're denying EXP from someone who does not even exist. They're not there. So we're basically just getting some EXP and some gold. I would say this is the highest risk play that doesn't necessarily result in anything big for us. Now, could we live here? If we were just walking back to base, we probably don't get killed by the bounty. But because we were like walking down, maybe trying to go for the pull, we end up getting killed. So this is a death that I would say doesn't really have much of a purpose. And the idea behind what we were trying to do wasn't really, it didn't matter that much. If we get the pull, great. If we don't get the pull, it doesn't matter. But fortunately, our Morphling was there to kind of get the gold for it. So even though we kind of messed up, the Morphling was there to give us something out of our mistake. And this death, honestly, this death doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Like, dying one time to a support as a support has very minimal impact in the game. The only thing that it does is get the Bounty Hunter closer to 6. Okay, so we've respawned. Let's take a look at the state of the game. It's 7 minutes in. There's already a ton of stuff that we could work on that we could do better. We've skilled Ice Path. And as I said, I've already watched this replay, so I knew this was coming, but I would not skill this ability in this lane. And the reason why I don't care about this skill is because we are not relying on it to get kills. We're not relying on it to cancel TPs. So it basically doesn't have a purpose. A 1 second stun for 90 mana on a 12-second cooldown that only does 50 damage is pretty bad. Like it's just not, it's not a very good value point in my opinion. Like the second point into Liquid Fire increases the attack slow, it increases the damage, it decreases the cooldown. And more than anything else, Jakiro's laning presence is based on the amount of damage that he can do, and also the fact that you can't trade with him because of the fact that you're getting the attack speed slow from not only the Liquid Fire, but you're getting it from the Dual Breath as well. So when you have the 2 points in a Liquid Fire and the 2 points in a Dual Breath, if the Bat Rider starts going on you, your deterrent to him killing you is your damage output. Your damage output is what is going to stop him from just flying at you and killing you. And plus your Morphling's level 6, so obviously he's going to be able to help too. But generally, I don't really like going for the Ice Path super early. I mean, most Jakiros are going to max Dual Breath and that's fine. If you're in like a really good lane that can set up kills, but you need a TP cancel or something like that, then sure, skill the Ice Path. But in this lane, you definitely, I don't think it's very good. Alright, so we're kind of shuffling again, thinking about what our next move is. We got 3 heroes top. Now, we got some free time, okay? And this is something that a lot of support players are going to have. They might not recognize that it's free time, but it is. And as a support player, your free time is like the most important time of the game. So let's say the laning phase is starting to break down. 7 minutes, maybe it's a bit early, maybe it's not. But we're going to say 7 minutes is when our laning phase is pretty much done. So what do? What are our choices? Okay, first thing we need to assess, does our safe laner still need our help? Does this guy need me to be present in order for him to secure farm? We've already talked about it earlier. I'm going to go out on a limb and say, since when he was level 4, he didn't need us. He probably still doesn't need us now. But what we can do is we can ward for him if we are going to be absent. So what I want to start thinking about is, all right, what wards do I want to protect this guy? Where do I want to put these things so that I make this guy feel as safe as possible? First thing we want is our sentry down in the lane. We could probably roughly put it like right in the middle, or we can maybe put it a bit further up here. Either way, just somewhere in the middle of the lane so that we can track the bounty hunter's movement. We just want to be able to see that guy walking up. Now, if he has his own sentry and he dewards it, what you'll need to do is you'll need to put it like in a tree line somewhere, or put it like hide it somewhere where your Morphling player can still make use of it, but he's not going to be able to just plop down a sentry and take it, right? So we can just put it down in the middle of the lane right now, because this guy's actually on our team. He's the Ricky, so we don't care about what he has. But yeah, just sentry the lane. Then what you can do is you can either do a lane ward, which is going to be somewhere like around these 2 bushes or over here. Some people even like warding the left side of the lane. This ward actually dies a lot less than the right-hand side ward, even though it sees less. So if you're playing against good supports, maybe warding over here is okay. The ward on this hill is also very good, but it is extremely likely to be dewarded if they see you. So if you're going to place this ward, you need to be sneaky. What I usually recommend is in the early game, buying your own smoke. At almost every single bracket of Dota 2, smoke is incredibly underutilized, and they will just sit at 3, which is the maximum capacity for the entire game. People will just not buy them. So if you're playing support in like Legend or Archon or Crusade or Guardian, whatever, buy yourself a smoke, pop it, and then use that smoke to ward. As long as your smoke doesn't break, you know that no one saw you. Because obviously sentry wards don't reveal smoke, you can't be seen, and you're just good to go, right? You get that ward down, chances of that ward being dewarded, basically 0. Unless you do something specifically that would require you to have vision under that ward, it will stay alive. And that's important. Ward staying alive, good ward. Dead ward, bad ward. Just remember that. So that's where our 1 obs would go. It would either go here, maybe here, maybe here. There's another ward you can do. This one is probably not as useful for this game, but it's still a good spot. Right on top of the steps here, it sees the Shrine TP. You can see like into the lane. You can see up this way too and towards the tier 2. This ward is really nice when the tier 1 is dead. So let's say we push this tower. This ward right here becomes great, because then you can see the shrine rotation, you can see the tower. Like your safe laner will be very happy with you when you place this ward. Trust me, I know. It's just super nice. Also doesn't really get dewarded that much at most brackets. So okay, we've decided our safe lane wards, or at least kind of some places we can put them. But we have another obs. What do we do with this obs? Well, we can think really quickly, what is the goal of this game for us? Like, do we want to go late? Do we want to end the game? You know, what's the general game plan? Well, if you look at their team composition, they got 2 cores. I would say Shadow Fiend is not really that great against Morphling. And there's also a Viper, who I think is actually not too bad against Anti-Mage if the game goes super late, because your Nether Toxin not only breaks the Anti-Mage, which removes the spell shield, but it can silence. So he'll need like BKB and stuff. So I'm thinking to myself, alright, our late game's pretty good. But all we really need to do is not die a lot. So if I've come to the conclusion that my team is alright in the late game, we just need to not die to the bounty hunter, then all I really care about is making sure that my side of the map is safe. And since they're not pressuring us in the safe lane, I don't really feel the need to leave. I can just chill here. I can be like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna ward up like this spot or whatever. Then maybe I give my Shadow Fiend another ward, my Viper another ward, and then we're gonna be all right. You know, just as long as these people don't die, we're good. But we can already see there's a sentry here on the minimap from the enemy team. So as long as we have sentries and obs for our cores, we're looking good. And our free time is the time where we want to do that. And this is the thing that people fall behind on a lot. And, you know, this even happens to me sometimes, so it's not something you should feel really bad about. Sometimes you get like 3 or 4 wards in your inventory, maybe, 5 or 6 wards in your inventory, and you're like, man, I just really feel like I never have time to place wards. But the reason that happens is because you're not assessing your free time well enough. You're not recognizing that, hey, this is downtime that I could just be using to ward, and I'm just kind of sitting around. So if we're checking out the ward positioning, this ward is obviously very good. But we've done this thing where we've kind of warded redundantly, as in this ward covers more or less the same spots as this one. The only thing that this ward sees, that the one that we just placed doesn't, is like a little bit of the Roshan pit on the top side. Okay? So if we look at just this ward vision, it's basically this entire freaking, like, this ward's great. This ward sees so much. Sees TPs, can kind of see them if they're running from the shrine. You might catch them as well. But this ward, the value that it gives is extremely low because we're overlapping so much with the ward that we just put down. So this obs is, in my opinion, essentially just a complete 100% waste. So that's unfortunate because the vision is very, very important. And the manner in which we place that observer ward, if you do that maneuver where you just place a sentry in lane and you walk up right next to the tower to drop that obs, it's gonna get dewarded instantly. That ward is never gonna last more than like 10 seconds in a higher MMR game. So a very bad habit, warding in plain vision. Never, ever, ever, ever do that. It's a really good way to get your wards dewarded. Alright, so we get the Shadow Fiend. Kind of a nice little kill there. Alright, we got our boots. We're gonna run back to base, but we're also using the courier. Oh, actually, wait, I think that was the Morphling using the courier. Okay, that's fine. I was gonna say, if you're running back to base, just don't use the courier. Just let your other guy use it. And then just put your stuff in the stash, so that way you can pick up your stuff from base while your carry uses the courier instead of going back to base, and that way you save yourself some time. Because now our boots are on the courier, and we don't have money for a TP. We're gonna have to wait like a couple extra seconds. And what I assume happens here is he TPs to the top and then just... Oh, he doesn't buy a TP. Alright. So we're gonna walk out of base instead of TPing. This is an enormous mistake. We could just be in a lane. And we could also have, like, okay, like, the walking itself is not really a mistake. But the fact that we didn't have a TP, I guess it's on the courier. Okay, it's not on the courier. So we didn't have a TP at all. We got 2 wards and our boots on the courier. Again, we could have just put our stuff in the stash. We could have bought a TP, and we basically could have had every single thing that we possibly needed in one spot in order to be able to do that. So it's like a really, really big waste of time and an inefficiency thing that matters the most. So we're looking around. We're trying to get some vision. We see the Bat Rider, and I guess we're gonna chase him off, but nothing really big is gonna happen from this. But like, let's think about the time that we're using right now, and essentially like, what can we be doing right now? So we have 2 wards in our inventory. Do we need to get any other vision down on the map? Because again, we've kind of come into this place where it's considered like free time. Time that I could be used to do like whatever I want. I could be placing vision, I could be doing what I'm doing right now. We're just farming some neutrals, but I would say that using my time to farm like 1 large camp when I have a whole heck of a lot of things that I could be doing. So right now we're also thinking about going for a pull, but there's some heroes like walking at us right now, and we're gonna go for the whole camp. And I guess our Morphling is being ganked. Okay, so that one's on the Morphling. He had tons of vision. I don't know how that guy died, but that's not on us. But I would say that the way that we're using our time is still not very good, and because we don't have a TP, we actually have no way to get out of here. Alright, so we just died. So let's like recap the last, I don't know, minute or so. So like let's just take into account what we could be doing. So we have boots, we have our wand, we got like 2 wards in our inventory. We could be going for like some deep wards. We could be putting a ward in the bot lane. You know, maybe at some point our Morphling decides he doesn't want to be top anymore, which by the way is a very common thing that's going to happen. You can just leave your lane, right? And you could go to the off lane if it's really tough. And if he sees like 3 or 4 heroes rotating for him, maybe he's going to rotate. And when he does make that rotation, we've already assessed the fact that we want to make at least our side of the map safe. And now the dire triangle is a great spot to farm. You can push out like a wave or two here. You can walk back to this side and you can farm this out. So what do I want to do preemptively as a support player in a game where I know that I want to be playing more defensively until my heroes get items? So my thought process is, obviously I have a TP, right? I have a TP in my inventory, maybe even two. I go to the bot lane, I preemptively ward up, like maybe I put a ward behind the tower, maybe I put a ward like over here by the shrine, and whichever one I don't use, I want to ward up this side. So like one of my wards that I've been using a lot recently is the ward like right on this edge by the bushes. And the reason I love this ward is because it sees all three ramps, right? It's going to see this one, and this. So if the enemy team is trying to invade this side of the map, when your carry like rotates over, you're going to see all of it. Every single thing. Now this ward, in my experience, doesn't really get dewarded a whole lot. At higher levels, it might. But if you get this ward down before anyone's even over there, then the chances of them dewarding it are going to be quite low. Because they would say to themselves, why would there be a ward here? Because no one was here. But you're anticipating, because there's so many heroes that are going to kind of form up over your top lane, that your core is not going to want to be there. Like a Morphling with a Morbid Mask, Treads, and Aquila is not going to want to fight 5 heroes at 10 minutes. It's just not going to happen. So what I do with my free time is I TP across the map. I establish vision in 2 places, like one back here and then one right here, so that when my Morphling does make that transition, he already sees stuff. He's like, cool, I can exist here. It's going to be safe for me. But because we didn't do that, we kind of got stuck in this weird like limbo of farming and trying to make some golden experience for ourselves, which is okay. Like there are times where you can occupy a lane and it's fine to occupy that lane. Like I have no inherent issue with you just sitting there and getting some farm and EXP, but you need to make sure that before you do that, your job is already done. And I will tell you that most of the time, if you have 2 wards in your inventory, your job is not done. If those wards are in your inventory and not out granting some kind of vision for your team, then you're not like being efficient with the time that you do have. And not only did we not get the vision down, but we also got in a situation where we didn't have a TP and we died. And we could have bought that TP so long ago. We had actual minutes of time to have that TP in our inventory. And this isn't even something that's applicable to support. It's just like one of the most basic things of Dota 2 is just, you know, have your TPs all the time. Just never be without a TP. Very bad to not have one. Alright, so we're going to sentry the high ground. And we got another couple of wards in our inventory. See, now we're at 3 wards and 2 sentries. This is probably about as high as you ever want to see it. If it gets higher than this, something is going very wrong. Either there's too many fights and you feel like you have to be at them all, or you're using your time inefficiently, or you can't get out of the base to ward. That's the only time where it is acceptable to have more wards in your inventory than we are currently seeing right now. Because they spawn at set intervals, right? So you get the obs wards on timer. So the longer that it takes for the person to ward, the more you're going to have. Alright, so we get an ice path down here. We get the nice little ward behind the tower. I think that ward's great. It's good stuff. We're going to get a kill on the grip stroke here, potentially. Yep. And now we kind of want to get out. Alright, so we're pretty low on health. We're kind of looking and seeing what our Viper player's up to. Maybe he's going for some kind of a kill. We're going to get this melee creep. Now, one thing that we can note, like, already, if we go to, like, free cam, is we put a sentry down, right? But we didn't put any vision over there to overlap with it. So if we check this area, it's like, yeah, okay, it's really cool to have the sentry down just in case the bounty hunter happens to make some kind of, like, trip into our jungle. But what would make this sentry even better is if we had another obs like here already to protect that side, okay? Now, if we wanted to take it a step further and say, you know what, maybe my Morphling doesn't necessarily want to just play around these 2 camps, or even these 3 camps if you can farm that one, which, by the way, I'm not sure if it's blocked. Okay, it's not. Spawn box is much smaller than I expected. So, if he wants to play around some other spot on the map than this, then we can get him another ward that's like even further inside of the jungle. Now, there's going to be a lot of times in the game where your awareness might not be high enough to be able to say, hey, I can go get this ward down. But that's why we also talked earlier about buying the smokes. If you buy a smoke and you're like walking into the enemy jungle, your smoke will break if someone is nearby, so that way you know if you're in trouble or not. Then you can immediately decide, hey, do I want to drop a ward or do I want to run? You know, what do I want to do? You'll be able to make that decision. So what do? We drop this ward. Okay, I'm gonna be pretty blunt here. This ward sucks. This is just a bad ward. And the reason why this ward sucks is because our tier 1's still alive. So because our tier 1 is still alive, and not only is it still alive, but it's like barely been scratched, the chances that this ward is going to give us vision that is useful is very, very low. Super low. In order for this ward to be useful, they would basically have to walk up, go all the way around, or like walk through the lane and walk over this way to get behind our tower to go for some kind of gank. And that's when the ward's going to be useful. It's a defensive ward, but the actual useful vision that it covers is like super useless. So this ward is not really doing much. I already talked about this one, so that's like 2 wards that we've already placed that just don't really accomplish much. If you put that ward here, it covers the actual points of ingress to our jungle that are important that we need to see. And not only does this ward like cover the spots that we're gonna like see if they're tower diving, this ward would do the same thing. It would see this high ground. It would see this and this and this. So the only way they would be able to get over here with that ward down is if they walked through this little path right here and went behind the tower. That's the only place it wouldn't cover. So we're comparing like this ward to the one that would be over here. They are essentially the same in regards to someone getting behind this point, but this ward offers so much more because it's going to see all these ramps and it's going to give you vision way sooner than this one. As a general like just knowledge of like what you consider as a good ward and a bad ward, there's a couple criteria. 1, how much vision does it grant? And that's just as simple as it says. Putting a ward on top of a hill is like the best because it gives you the most amount of vision. But it's also the most likely to be dewarded because everyone knows that. So how much vision it gives, that's obviously a big thing. Second thing, is it going to get dewarded? For the reason that I just explained, the vision, the wards that get the best vision are also the ones that are most likely to be killed by sentries. So then the third one is, what advantage does this vision give us? What am I getting by putting this ward in this spot? Now, we talked about this one. This is a great ward. It's got almost its entire duration now. It's going to die in 24 seconds. This ward served its purpose. It saw a lot of heroes rotating top. Our Morphling still died, but that's whatever. You know, the ward was there, so that's not on us. That's okay. But like this ward sees so much aggressive potential coming out from the enemy, and it sees it quickly. And because it sees it quickly, you have time to react. This ward is not only bad because it sees like a part of the map that isn't particularly useful, but it's also bad because if they're already here, there's not really much you can do about it, right? If they've already had the time to walk down this lane, they're hitting your tier 1, and they're grouping up over here, no one's going to be here anyway. So this ward is just like, in every sense, it's just bad. Alright, so moving on. Alright, so we're going to make our way back towards mid. We're still missing some HP and mana. Gonna get a nice little bit of a shrine. Alright, this is alright. You know, nothing really big is happening on the map. We see some guy kind of doing some weird stuff. Our sentry actually scouts this guy. So we know that he's there. And he's going to walk on our other sentry. Now this sentry is good. I like this one. So now a lot of people are thinking, well, hey, didn't you just say that that ward was bad and that sentry is bad? And yes, it still is. And the reason it's still bad is because this ward and this ward basically would have given us the same thing as just having this sentry. Because that guy would have walked up that way no matter what. He didn't know you had wards there. So even if these wards were non-existent, he probably still would have died because he would have walked into this sentry, into like 3 or 4 heroes. So all we needed to kill that guy was actually just this. We didn't need the ward on the hill or the sentry. I'm gonna throw out an ice path, it's gonna whiff. Okay, so now we've got this decision to make. Enemy team is grouping up around our tier 1. Do we actually want to fight this? And my first instinct is probably no. Just because our team, like, we don't really have that great a team fight. We got, like, Viper, Morph, Jakiro, Ricky, and Oracle. I would say that none of these heroes really offer anything even remotely resembling team fight. So if I see the enemy team kind of grouping up at a tower, if I don't have to commit a lot of resources, okay, maybe I want to, like, push out the wave or whatever. But I don't really want to get into a fight. A, because I have, like, no mana, I'm at half HP, and B, because we've already talked about, you know, we want to go late. Like, let's say that fighting is probably not ideal, especially since we're fighting against a bounty hunter. Every fight that we lose against bounty is going to result in more gold and experience going the way of the other team. Alright, so we're going to get Oracle ulted here. Looks like we will ultimately be able to repel the fight, perhaps. Our Morphling is going a bit deep. And we're kind of just chilling. Our Morphling decides it doesn't want to be here anymore, that's fine. And now we're in no man's land with not a lot of health. So we're pretty scared right now. And it seems that the enemy has actually de-warded us. So we lost the ward behind the tier 1. We're going to drop a sentry. I'm guessing this is for a potential lane ward. But we had another one down, so we didn't actually need to drop that one. Maybe we were just scared of bounty. So we kind of wasted a ward.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
We did not get the 15-minute bounty runes either, so that's a little bit unfortunate. And we're kind of just doing some more running around. Nothing really big happening. And we are tracked, by the way, so sitting in the tree doesn't really matter. Alright, we're going to TP home. And at this point, like, this is what I call, like, a reset, okay? And a reset is every time you TP back to base. When you TP back to base, you shouldn't be thinking of anything but, what do I want to do next as a support? The first thought that should enter your mind as a support is, where do I want to go? Do I want to ward there? What do I want to do for the next, you know, X amount of minutes? Now, we had to use our TP scroll to get back to base, which means we won't have it. So we need to be very good with our movement, and we need to make sure that we're getting some vision out for our team so that they can utilize space. So what's happened in the last, like, 5 or 6 minutes? All right, we lost our safe lane tier 1. This part of the map becomes pretty dangerous. This part of the map is also dead. So now we're looking at a side of the map and we're saying, no tower here, no tower here. Our jungle has suddenly become super unsafe because this tower is dead and this tower is dead. So lots of places the enemy team can just, you know, they can run up here, this ramp, they can go over here, they can just walk straight down the lane, they can walk down mid and, like, go this way. It's very dangerous to be there. Now you have one of two choices. You can try to make this part of the map safe, but what I will tell you from experience is that if you are playing a support and you are trying to walk into this part of the map when you know it's super dangerous, good chance you're just going to feed. And you're going to feed because they're all there, and you don't already have vision. So you can communicate with your team, hey, can you guys please accompany me to this side of the map so I can get vision down? Maybe they listen, maybe they don't. If they do, great. Then maybe you can get some defensive wards down and some sentries to keep your side of the map safe. That's an option. The other option is that instead of saying, I want to go over here and make this part of the map safe, I want to say, screw that part of the map. If they're not going to be sitting on their side, I'm just going to take their side. So this is a common play that you're going to see at higher levels of MMR, is that the safe lane is commonly going to just be sacked. And when I say sacked, I mean they will just leave, and they will let the tower die, and they will not fight it. Because more often than not, the off-lane composition is going to be stronger than the safe lane composition, and that results in a lane loss. So when they lose that lane, what high MMR players will do is they will occupy the enemy jungle, and they will occupy the enemy safe lane because the enemy wants to be on your side of the map, just like you want to be on theirs, right? So instead of trying to fight them off, you go the path of least resistance and you walk to their side, you pressure the lane, you farm, and you essentially just occupy the space that they don't want because you can't fight them anyway, right? So what I would do personally is I would ward up their jungle. I would put a ward like somewhere over here. I like the ward spot that's like right about here or maybe on this side because it kind of sees the tower, sees the shrine. It's one of my favorite wards. It also doesn't really get dewarded that much. But my general thought process is I want to try to make this part of the map safe. And it's actually not as dangerous as you would think to farm on the enemy side of the map as long as you have those wards. In fact, it is more dangerous to be in your own jungle at this point with like the Bounty Hunter and the Shadow Fiend with a Shadow Blade being over here than it is to just be down here. So I'm thinking, now that I TP back to base, that's my priority. I want to like buy out whatever wards I can, and I want to make my way towards that side of the map so that my carries have somewhere to be. Because if we're defensively warding and we're only like fighting around our vision and stuff, that's okay. It's not terrible. But more often than not, Dota is a game about how much pressure you can apply. And you're not really applying pressure by playing in your own jungle. So we want to go with the thought of the best defense is a good offense. That's what we're looking for. And you can see the enemy team has some very aggressive wards. They actually have a ward, I think it's in vision, but the tower can't attack it. It's very strange. I don't know if that's just a replay thing or what, but there is definitely vision there. Okay, so we push out one wave. We're going to drop a ward. Enemy team already had a ward here, but we're going to drop a sentry too. Always drop your sentry first. Always, always, always drop the sentry first. If you are going to ward roughly in the same vicinity that you are going to be placing an obs, put the sentry first, just to be sure. If they see you put the ward down, or they see you deward, they're going to think to themselves, wait a minute, this guy just dewarded this, maybe he put a ward down. Or if they're higher MMR, they're going to go, wow, that guy just literally dropped a ward on my ward. I'm killing that instantly as soon as I get the chance, right? So always drop your sentry first, and then find a spot kind of close to where your obs is, but out of range of the sentry so that it can't get a 2-for-1. Because right now, we've just done that, right? We have 2 places on the map currently that are 2-for-1s, which means I drop 1 sentry, I get your obs and your sentry. That's bad. You don't ever want that. The sentries are actually very important for us too, because there's a Bounty Hunter and a Shadow Fiend with a Shadow Blade. So if I don't have like sentries covering my ramps and stuff, then it's really dangerous and my heroes can just get killed. So don't put your obs first. That's a big no-no. Also, just as a smaller thing but still important, haven't had dust at all, and it's a 17-minute game. And we've already seen the fact that the Shadow Fiend has a Shadow Blade and there's a Bounty Hunter on the other team. Haven't seen a single dust purchase. Very bad. Want dust. So I'm probably not going to cover too much more of this game. I think that there's already more than enough to work on. I just want to get like a general early kind of feeling for, you know, a game where we're not doing too hot, but there's still a lot for us to do. So I'll probably give this game about till 20 minutes game time, and then we'll try to wrap things up, see if there's anything else that we can kind of zone in on and improve. But it's tricky for like lower MMR supports, because a lot of the time you're going to feel like you don't actually have time to do anything. But I'm just here to tell you that you have all the time in the world. You have so much time.
Double kill.
Like right now, even when you're sitting with your team, this could be considered free time.
Radiant structures are fortified. Dire's top tower has fallen.
So like if I wanted to, what I could do right now, like instead of just walking forward and killing this wave, like my team's gonna kill this wave. Do I need to kill this? Probably not. I could be walking over here, I could drop a ward here, I could drop a ward on this high ground, like clearly they have their own. But I'm just saying, like, if you're just with your team and you're nuking a creep wave, that's not something that you need to do. You could just let the wave walk up. It's not gonna stop you guys from killing this tower. You might want the gold, but again, your free time is important. And the better you get at managing your free time and getting those wards down when they should be down and using your TPs effectively and carrying TPs and stuff like that, you'll notice that you will actually have time to occupy lanes. You'll just be like, oh, I have all the vision down that I need. I got sentries at all the points that I need them at. I can just sit in this empty lane for a minute and get some EXP and gold. And then you'll start to notice that your support play will have another item in its progression, or you'll be in the right place at the right time, because you will just be better about doing that stuff. But the first step is always making sure that you're thinking ahead. Thinking ahead helps you prepare. Being prepared makes you do stuff more efficiently.
Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
Alright, so we got some more sentries. We got the tier 2.
Double damage.
Now, if I was going to ward up their jungle and I had just purchased sentries, I would be, just be blopping them down everywhere. Just, hey, wait a minute. I wanna make sure I'm getting some vision down. So I would say that the ward that we just dropped, we talked about redundant vision not too long ago. But like, notice how we have this ward and this ward. These wards cover the exact same place. This ward does not even need to be placed. It doesn't. If you want to put this ward down, you got to put it like further over here. You want to put it like over here. This one will probably get dewarded. You can put one here. This spot is actually also one that I've started to like a bit because it's out of deward range of this one, and it's also out of deward range of this side. So this ward is pretty nice. It doesn't see as much, but if it's there, it's there. And then the one like far down on this side is also pretty good too. But yeah, redundant vision. Putting a ward down that sees the same part of the map is a ward that might as well just not even exist.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Alright, so we're kind of chilling. Again, we have some free time. And you guys notice I'm saying that a lot, right? Like, anytime you're sitting and farming neutrals, that's free time. Anytime you're just chilling with your team and nothing's happening, that's free time. You're sitting in a lane where you don't need to be present and your core hero doesn't need your help anymore, that's free time. That free time is when you make your impact as a support player. Now sure, maybe you get higher MMR and you're kind of trapped in your lane because dual lanes become really annoying, and then you're going to have to start making some bigger decisions. But in this game, we've had so much free time that it's actually crazy. I'd say probably about half the game we could have just been doing whatever and getting our wards down and making sure that our side of the map or their side of the map is safe for my core to farm. We've had tons of time. Alright, so around the 20-minute bounty rune is where I'm going to wrap this up. I think that we probably got quite a bit of what I wanted to cover. Not everything. There's a lot of like small stuff that you can obviously do better, and I didn't talk about like 100% of the game, but I think we covered a good amount. So yeah, let's just go ahead and wrap it up here. This is fine. This like shuffling back and forth is kind of what we were talking about earlier. You have free time, use your free time. Just make sure that you're getting something done instead of just kind of like hovering around it and walking back and forth. So that's going to be the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it very much. I want to give a shout out to Tommy for letting me use this replay without him even knowing. It's going to be good when he sees this one go up on YouTube. But anyway, appreciate you guys very much for tuning in. If you want to catch me live, you can do it on twitch.tv/Draskyl, same as the YouTube name. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's Twitter/Draskyldota2 with a TWO. Thank you guys once again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.